Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name's Ash. This is my video channel where I talk about comics. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a longtime viewer, you're one of a few, and I appreciate it. On the screen, you see Stan and Forky. They're my little mascots for the channel. Obviously, Stan is a living legend. Well, unfortunately, he's no longer living, but he will live forever in our hearts and minds. And let's get on with it. Today, I'm talking about Dawn of X, and I was covering these books individually. Just too many X books. I don't want my channel to be the Dawn of X channel, especially because these books really don't warrant it. So I decided maybe I would just cover them as a group. And so this is the first time I'm trying this. I'm covering all the issue number 4s. And you can see here they all are. The first issue in this is Marauders. And let's go ahead and get on with it. This cover is it's a storm flying in the air. Whoop-de-doo. Mutants around the world are flocking to the island nation of Krakoa, blah, blah, blah. It all starts the same. Essentially, this book is Hellfire Club, the comic. The progressives at Marvel love to view villains as heroes and heroes as villains. Their whole sense of virtue and their moral compass is all out of whack. And for whatever reason, the X-Men are being turned into a bunch of villains. But they're not being turned into a bunch of villains in the traditional sense, like, hey, we're going to make a book where we're making these characters. They're actually, this is how they view them as heroes, but to the normal person who has a sense of morality and virtue, we see these characters as villains, and it's really kind of disturbing. We open up, we get the big 2-page spread devoted to the credits, because that's how narcissistic these creators and the publishers in Marvel are. I feel like it used to be you had the lower, like maybe 1/5 at most, maybe even like 1/8 of the page was just a little strip that showed like who did what, and that was it. And it was on a page of art. Now it's 2 full pages, and less than 1/4 of the screen is actually the credits. It's just so it's so self-impressed, so self-absorbed. Modern comics really disturb me this way, and it's like, focus on the work. The work should be what matters, but it's like, no, look at us. It's constantly, look at me, look at what we're doing. It's a totally new attitude, and it carries over into the stories that are being told. We get some top secret blah 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 stuff. It tries to play off like this is some sort of military, transpondence or memo or something, but it just reads like someone who doesn't understand. It just reads like cheap fanfic stuff. I have it on the screen. You can pause it and read it yourself if you haven't already. So it starts off in Brazil, and we're on the coast, and we got some mutants hiding in the rocks, and they're like looking out in the ocean. Oh, there's some warships approaching. Uh-oh, look at that. And then they're like, oh, but the Marauders ain't coming. The entire Brazilian Navy's out there. Fish, you can breathe underwater. You should go. I won't leave you guys. And then the storm, Krakoa. Oh, look at the warships of the evil humans approaching to get the big bad muty kids. Oh, no. They said to watch for their signal. I'm guessing that's it. Boom, lightning. And then it's music, because, of course, we all saw, remember that movie that they did with the guys in the space, the Guardians of the Galaxy? Remember how they played the music all the time and it was hip and cool? That's what's going on. Any way you want it, that's the way. So the ship shows up. We all know who it is. It's the Marauders, and they're blasting the music, and they're playing Journey. It was a good song, but it's just, God, it's so. Do you see what I mean by fanfic? This is Gary Dugan remember when it was the movie and they played the music? So they show up. These ships, now bear in mind, these ships aren't doing anything. They are in national waters. And I say national because they're within their own coastline. So this is a sovereign nation of Brazil. These are Brazilian warships that have every right to be patrolling their own coasts, and the Marauders show up and just start blasting them. Just unleashing. Here's Pyro and Iceman, and then Storm, you can see the lightning in the background, just laying waste, and they're laughing. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Look at this, these are villains. And Pyro, of course, is always been a villain. He's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Emphasis on the word evil, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Remember, let's not forget, in House of X, Powers of X, Pyro burned Moira McTaggart alive. Let's not forget this. This is the heroes of X-Men these days. And then the kids, let's go! Stop, says G.I. Joe guy that jumps down. This terrible, not animation, but it's so wooden and lacking of dynamicism. It's just modern comics. No one knows what they're doing. You owe service to the state. You walk off this beach and you're a traitor. The penalty for treason is death. Oh, good. And then the fish mutie boy says, "Fuck you, Paragon." It's forced cursing is always the way of modern progressive comics. Fish doesn't speak for all of us. Don't kill us. And then, no one will be killed today. These children don't belong to you. That's right. People are free. No one owns anyone, right? Freedom. They're Krakoan. Oh, I guess they belong to Krakoa. And if they so choose, they're coming with me. Do you really want to risk fighting with me? Says G.I. Joe guy. I don't even know who you are, says Storm. This is a sovereign land, not another step. Yeah, actually, he's right. I mean, he's a moron, and he's obviously written to be, another thing in trope of modern progressive comics is every man has to be portrayed as a goofball simpleton who needs a woman to do everything for him, or they're a raging, toxic asshole like this guy. Everyone, you will see. And so he's rightfully so, defending his country from militant invaders that just attacked his ships. Let's keep in mind how this is going on. This is total self-defense here. There will be no fight, Storm says as she zaps him. There's no fight. You just fried him with a lightning bolt. Use lethal force. But he's not dead. Is that the best you can do? No, that was just the leader. The main bolt is still charging in the cloud. Oh, so it wasn't just a lightning bolt was not enough. She's got to hit him again, and he's down for the count. And then the other little kids are like, you glassed that bleep. More cursing. Welcome aboard, young mutant, says Pyro. Pyro, who needs a beer? Great. So now we're giving children alcohol because this modern progressive comics, nothing matters. There's no heroism. And then Iceman's like, welcome, right this way. Come through our gate and you will be in paradise. So stupid. And then meanwhile, we cut over to Bishop and Kitty Pryde, who are off in, I think it's Taipei. Yeah, Taipei. And you remember this? This is where she found Bishop, and there was that woman who, of course, she hates muties, and she's running the land, and and her husband's missing, and she blames the mutants for kidnapping her, I guess, or killing or something her husband. And so apparently they're tandem jumping down off of some skyscraper. I don't really understand why they went to a skyscraper, to top of a roof of a skyscraper so they could jump off it. And then why it needs to be in tandem. But they're talking about the Hellfire Club, and Bishop doesn't want to be in it, and she keeps trying to talk him into it and being like, well, it's not really, it's a corporation now, as if corporations are that much better. And so she uses her powers so they float, their parachute goes through the roof, but then she stops. She detaches herself so that Bishop is just left hanging there like a doofus, so that Kitty Pryde apparently can just go run around. So then eventually Bishop catches up to her. And she's looking around. Is this ivory? Is it real? Bishop's like, it looks like. Oops, I just dropped it into a wall. Oh, you go, girl. You teach those people and their... Oh, God, the SJWism in this book, it's just all the virtue signaling left and right. Not the characters, the writers through the characters. And then they're looking at the pictures. Oh, she claimed this. We get the refresher on what happened. And so Kitty Pryde holds Bishop's hand, and they walk through the walls, and then they find this hidden chamber. And inside is, if I can scroll here, is, guess what? The missing husband. Oh, look, he's there all along in some little cell. And he's like, hey, Shadowcat, but Bishop, is that really you? Is this some kind of trick? And they're all surprised, like, I can't believe you found me. I prayed and prayed for you mutants to rescue me. Look at his face. Look at him. Look at this. Remember? Dumb simpletons that need... Can we go to Krakoa? I need to get out of here. And, oh, thank you. What do you ask for me? And Bishop's like, would you excuse Kate and me? We have to have a mutant-only chat. Of course. La, 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 la. Look at this buffoon. This is the husband of the leader of the nation. Total buffoon. Because, of course, the woman, his wife, could run the nation, but the man is this... Look at his face! Oh, my God. And then, as he's going, wow, this guy's Order of X. And Kitty Pryde's, is that something in the Mojo verse? Ha ha, laugh track kicks in. One of the mutant-worshipping cults that have sprung up. There are really mutants that worship us? Xavier spoke to the entire world. Everyone heard voices in their heads, and it drove a bunch of them out of their minds. Oh, my goodness. We can't leave him. No, and we can't take him back with us. Weren't we supposed to be out of here like 5 minutes ago? Yes. Then we're under attack. No, I'm fine. And then Bishop says, as he cocks his gun, because apparently his gun wasn't cocked. The clan rally must have let out early. Oh, God, that is so... It is so, like, stereotypical black man. First of all, Bishop grew up in a future where there is no clan. Bishop's never dealt with a clan. He's never been a black oppressed guy. He's been a mutant maybe that's been oppressed. He grew up in a future where mutants were enslaved and whatever, but no, not a clan. But of course the writers don't care. They just write themselves into the books, and it's angry black men, the clan. The clan hasn't been a deal in decades. Millennials don't know anything about the clan. I order you to, and then they kick him. Apparently. And it's it's two Deathstrike wannabes. You don't command us, your wife does. And so they slash. Kitty Pryde, of course, decks them because they're not really good assassins. Bishop can't shoot for shit. And then this one's leaping at Kitty Pryde, and she swings a pillow, and with the pillow, look at this force of this pillow stops her dead flight and knocks her back. And I was like, what the stupid? And then Kitty Pryde, of course, because she's evil, fucking killer Kitty Pryde now, unphases the pillow in their body and kills them dead. Again, remember, these people are invading a foreign nation. They do not belong here. These assassins, although they look like bad people, are legit working for the leader of the country. Would have every right to repel invaders who broke in, not just illegally invading the country, also broke in the premises illegally. Also using lethal force, Bishop's firing guns, would have every right to just put these mutants down. And then, so the leader's giving us some speech about, mutants and blah, 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 and the drugs are the problem, and they're affront to their sovereignty, and all this is actually really true. And then I hate calling her Kate, but Kate and Bishop show up with her husband, and he says, "It's your husband, Lim. None the worse for wear. Seems he really loves mutants as much as you hate them. Hi, honey. My God's delivered me from prison." And the wife's like, what? What's this? Crazy, right? What happened? And so Kitty Pryde proceeds to lecture the leader of this country. and then the people are all unhappy now. Boo, boo. All of this is like how a child would write a book. This is not how countries are run. Now everyone hates the leader, and so they're like, okay, our job's done here. We'll leave it. And stupid. And so leader gets booed off the stage, and this is the epilogue where she shows up into a Madripoor, and she's got a bunch of money for somehow still, and she's gonna pay off the new Hellfire Club. So the new Hellfire Club, being that they're villains, because Hellfire Club is traditionally villains, they can't be mutants, so that, of course they're humans. Because in these books, the only villains are humans, and all humans are the villains. Humans bad. Mutants are an allegory for oppressed minorities, and so of course, and that's the end of that issue. Yeah. So that was pretty terrible. Next is Excalibur, and we start off with Gambit. Still mourning. Oh, Rogue. Oh, my poor Rogue. You sleep in this casket. I don't know what's going on. And he shows up to Buckingham Palace or whatever. And we've got more humans. Mutie, go home. We don't want no muties. And I guess someone throws a bottle at Gambit. And then Gambit gets mad now. Well, you really hate me. And then he just starts unleashing with his powers on the crowd. He's gone crazy. Crazy, you ain't seen. More forced cursing. And then we get the white page. Mutants around the world are flocking to the island nation of Krakoa, blah, blah, blah. How many times are we going to hear this? And more, now the double page spread. And then meanwhile, Jubilee and Rictor are having a nice little chat about Rictor's powers and how Apocalypse helped him. Meanwhile, then we go back to the crowd, and Gambit's still unleashing his powers on everyone. Now, keep in mind, this is like, he's a living weapon. This is an equivalent of he just pulled out a gun and just started shooting into the crowd. And then Jubilee shows out, and she's like, what are you doing? We were told to behave. And he's like, they threw a bottle at me. And her response is, not really, Gambit. You fought Sentinels. You fought Apocalypse. You've done all this stuff, and you're worried about a stupid fucking bottle. Snap out of it, you idiot. No, she doesn't respond that way. She's like, oh, well, fair enough. Let me join you in unleashing powers on the crowd. This is stupid. Finally, Captain Britain shows up with the flower in her hair. It's fucking SJW Captain Britain. Every time I see this, I just can't help but cringe. And she's a pretender Captain Britain. She's not real. This is Betsy Braddock, and she's not the Betsy Braddock any of us remember who couldn't fight. She's warrior maiden supremo. They should just call her Captain SJW. Anyways, they're working for the Queen now. Of course. Progressives love the British monarchy, and they love being supplicants to a higher authority and basically having power over people. They love the idea of royalty and being elite. It's a dream of theirs that there are lessers and they need their betters to look after them. That's which in their mind is them. So basically she explains that Her Majesty wants to fix problems of otherworld, yada blah blah. It's boring, and then we get a page of no boy ever wanted to see in comics ever. And I remind you, at the risk of being accused of being a sexist, misogynist pig, that comics are for boys. I know that's going to sound weird to a lot of modern readers, but that's true. It's a hobby that was created for boys for a number of reasons. Boys are more visual than girls. This is why girls tend to prefer actual real books with no pictures. Boys tend to just like looking at pictures. And it's why comics took off and succeeded in appealing to the male market, because they're like that. That's not to say that girls can enjoy it. Girls obviously do. Girls are actually into comics. That's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like some boys are into girls' things. That's fine. We're talking about generalities here, and we're talking about target audience. Comics always knew that boys were their bread and butter, and they wanted to appeal to girls who it's like, hey, come on in. It wasn't an exclusive club or anything. But it's just like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. No one ever pretended to be making Arnold Schwarzenegger movies for women. Like, we were just like, let's get guys into the seats. And that's how comics have traditionally been. Now, I know modern comics really aren't there, but I still can't help it when I see it's like, oh my God, two women with their little babies having a talk in the woods. And it's just like, oh God, just gag me with a spoon already. If you want to make comics for girls, I am all for it. Make comics for girls. I believe everyone should have everything, like, everyone should have things for them. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't have comics for every type of person if they can sell, if they're viable. But you don't need to transform the comic that was originally targeting for boys. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to take, the Terminator franchise and then try to feminize it, right? That wasn't for you. Go make your feminine movies. Anyways, there's a shout out there to Dark Fate. Anyway, so Rictor now and Gambit are on this mission that the man formerly known as Apocalypse, stupid idea, under the earth to steal some sort of crystals, where they run into a cult of druids. The druids explain to Rictor that he's a druid too. And Gambit was supposed to steal the crystals. He's utterly useless in this whole thing. I don't really understand why he's there. Even Gambit doesn't understand why he's there. The druids show up, and they're explaining to him, Rictor, that he's a druid, and they put the cloak on him and everything. And apparently he's all awed, and he's like, ooh, look, I'm a druid. And they actually give them the crystal. They're like, yeah, the ones you were stealing were just just decoys. They didn't have any power. And so something happens. They use their powers to get rid of Gambit, and Rictor's like, what are you doing? That's my friend. And Rictor fails to save him because he's lame. And there's just bad dialogue here. And we cut back, and Captain Britain's now talking to the leader of the Coven of the Akaba or whatever. And it's just a bunch of nonsense, and there's a bunch of chest puffing, and it's just kind of boring. And then they're talking about how they're going to unleash these monsters into the world, and that Captain Britain's not going to be up to the task, and blah, 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 because she lives in pompous paradise. And, of course, she stomps out of the room like a little stubborn little girl, like, oh, I'll show them. And look at how she's drawn here. Look at these thin lips. Look at she's not a single piece of skin other than her face showing. It's complete. I mean, it's like a pantsuit. This is like the Hillary Clinton version of Captain Britain. Meanwhile, Apocalypse. This is the only cool part of the book was Apocalypse is watching these monsters appear through this big portal, and he says this is merely an opening salvo meant to test the captain's hand. And but we know better. We have been working since the beginning, haven't we? He says to Rogue, and then her eyes open, and that's the end of the book. And I was like, oh, that's at least something interesting. So we got one page of interesting, and that's Captain Britain. So moving quite along, let's go to New Mutants. Holy crap! If you watch my video for issue 3, if you haven't watched my video for issue 3, probably pause now and watch it. I'm kind of proud of that. I'm going to blast through this. Look at this cover here. This is as good as the art gets. So if you think this cover sucks, yeah. And then look, can you guess what these Krakoan letters are? It's NM. You get it? For like New Mutants? Isn't that clever? Oh, Boom Boom made a cleverness. Oh, what a stupid name, Boom Boom. Kudos, however, for not starting off to the whole mutants are flocking to the island nation of Krakoa. They don't actually do that in this one. Here's the cast of characters that you hate. Like, no one wants to see a comic book with these characters. It's utter failure. But this is Marvel trying to sell you on F-list characters so that they can have 20 X books and hope to get all your money. But there's not enough market inside of comics. There's not enough comic buyers to justify this. So I don't know what Marvel's really thinking. They're trying to milk you for every penny they can, but there's just not enough fans. So they'd be better suited to having like 3 3 X titles all selling over 100,000 units than 10 X titles that can only sell 20,000 units. But what do I know? I just talk about comics. So we start off with Krakoa, and it's a big hipster party, because they're so much better than us. They can just live a life of decadence and talk down about humanity, and just getting drunk and partying. Look at how cool it is. Look at the lessons we're teaching our kids in these comics. Just sit around getting drunk, a bunch of kids, and Boom Boom's upset. Your friend's been gone for days. No one's worried, though, because, it's not like we live in a world where all of humanity is against mutants. What's there to worry about? So they're all trapped in the basement. Again, I'm assuming you watched my previous video. If you haven't, you're going to not be filled in. That video is, I'm not going to puff my chest because my videos aren't really that great, I'm sure, but I kind of liked it. So we've got big evil purple guy who's not a mutant, but he's purple. I don't understand any of this. None of it makes sense. He's lame beyond compare, and he wants the drugs, and he's lecturing them about how mutants, oppressing the people and da-da-da, and they're just selling the drugs and using it to hold power over the world. His country of Costa Perdida. I don't think that's a real country. Some little country in Central America. And he talks about how, the white man plagued his country. Of course, that's always the villain, right? To humans, the villain is the white man, and then to mutants, the villain is all men. So it's just the progressive stack. The more of a minority you are, like everyone above you is a lesser minority, is like the villain. So if you're like a black Muslim, trans, lesbian, mutant, then everyone is like an oppressor to you. Oh, maybe you have to also be like a little person. What other things? Oh, handicapped. It's for crying out loud. So he gives this sob story about how all the people were dying because there was no cure. And then you remember that one guy, I forget his name, that bought the rights to the anaphylactic medicine or whatever, and was selling it for like $1,000 a dose or whatever. I forgot his name. He had that. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but this is a complete analog to that. They're just like, oh, so then the great white hope steps forward. An American cracked the disease in his laboratory, developed a vaccine to fight the man-made illness, and answered to our country's prayers. And it would be ours for only $1,000 per vaccine. Oh, come on. And while the government argued over the price, more were infected, thousands more. The count rose from 8,500 to nearly 65,000, and of course with it, the price rose as well. Oh, the big, bad, evil corporatists. Which is ironic because this story about Dawn of X, when you get to the X-Men, is going to be all about how the X-Men are the big, bad, evil corporatists. So basically at the end, she's like, and you're coming after us? You're holding us responsible? You have problems with this farmer, take it up with him. And he responds, oh, he's been dealt with. And then we get the excerpt from the newspaper that talks about the pharmaceutical guy dead at 35. So he's been killed. Of course, good riddance to him, because anyone who sells medicine should be killed. The important lesson here is that there's a sickness. Where there's a sickness and the nation's health is on line, there's power to be had, as your kind well knows. You've held the world hostage with your cures, but now it's time for someone else to benefit. And I'm thinking, well, okay, he's speaking something of the truth, right? And so he's like, you'll bring someone with me to negotiate. 1 ton of your Krakoan medicines for each hostage we hold. No, she says. If you want your medicine, then you talk to your president. Tell him to take the deal. Tell him that Charles Xavier has offered him access to these medicines, and all he has to do is recognize Krakoa as a sovereign nation. God, it's so boring. I don't want him to take the deal, says Purple Man. If he takes it, then these drugs will be readily available. What? Isn't that what you wanted? Isn't that what you complained about? The evilness of the... And he says, and there goes my profit margins. And there you have it. Everyone in the fucking world, excuse my language, is evil. The governments, the white man that made the cure is evil because they were selling it for the profit. And this guy's pissed off because how dare someone try to profit off these things? They're pissed off at the mutants because how the mutants made another cure. And they're offering it freely, actually. All you got to do is accept sovereignty. But that's not good enough because this guy then wouldn't get to profit. There's no virtue in this book anywhere to be found. I don't care about these stupid mutants. I want them all to die. This purple man is obviously a scumbucket of the earth. I want him to die. I just don't care. Now, I don't really wish people to die, but these are just figments of my imagination. They're comic books, so that's why. And so we have a conversation with Boom Boom back at the X-Tree headquarters place in Krakoa, and Sage is constantly pretending she couldn't give a shit about anything. She just wants to sit in front of her tree computer. And so everyone's trapped in a basement, and they're still in Nebraska. This is so boring what's going on. And then the kids are like, Mom, we're hungry. My stomach hurts. And don't worry, someone will come for us soon, and then we can all go to Krakoa and eat all the food we want. We'll eat so much that our tummies will be bursting. I promise. Oh, and then look, Armor's just so sad. So sad at this tragedy, this plight. And then meanwhile, Boom Boom's drunk, stumbling around, looking, oh, of course there's no direct gate. Stupid Nebraska. God, is anyone... What happened to Heroes? What happened to Heroes? Back at the stupid house. You made a smart decision, Armor, says Purple Man. Save it. He's drinking his coffee. Your friends are being fed as soon as they're served. So she's eating her sandwich all pissed off, just like, oh, I had to succumb to his demands, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, how did you know? What is that, little one? How did you know that Beacon Angel were here, that we'd come? And he responds, oh, that's easy. We have an app that doxes people, so we got doxing thrown into the story. Because we all know that mutants are bad, so there's a group of people out there that we dox them. He says, the internet's a wonderful thing, no? So stupid. And so we can get this little white page to show you where the Costa Perdita is. I don't really care. Apparently, white man is responsible for these countries that are surrounded by Hispanics. But it's the white man, of course, that's the problem. Always is. And these kids are being told to eat by armed guards, and it's like they're, of course, just mouthy because, you know, they have no fear. But Beak, he eats because Beak is at least real. I guess he's just believable. I think when you're starving, even slop will look good, and it just keeps going. And Angel talks about how she can't eat because she can't digest the food. She needs her powers to puke on the food, and it's really gross. All the Grant Morrison mutants are just really weird and disgusting. Morrison decided that that's how mutants needed to be, and I really thought it was a bad direction, and here we just see it continue. So she's puking on the food so she can digest it for her kids. And then she, pukes on the collar. Oh, what a surprise. And then they break free, and now they can use their powers. And she shows one guard some memories of the other guard sleeping with his wife, and then they get all mad enough to kill each other. They're in a big standoff. It's a Mexican standoff. Get it? Get it? And then everything's going to be okay, says the utterly disgusting glob that would just be a nightmare fuel to these kids. And they still keep facing off, and it keeps shouting at each other, and it keeps going and going, and then braka, 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 we just hear the shots, and Purple Man's like, no, those fools, and then Armor can't do anything, and we hear tick, tick, boom, and guess who showed up? It's Boom Boom. Oh, look, she got a swig that whiskey. She's cool. And what the hell is going on here? Why does Boom Boom have a package? what the? Maybe Boom Boom is the transvestite mutant that we never knew about. And that's ridiculous, New Mutants. It's so stupid. Ed Brisson writing that. It's so terrible. Moving along to X-Force, we got Eye for an Eye. Now, X-Force is supposed to be the good book everyone's raving about. And it's kind of, the art is interesting. And so we're on this, like, floating rig in the ocean in the middle of nowhere that no one should really know about. And the Quiet Council's having a meeting. And, of course, these assassins show up because that's what's been going on with X-Force. And they show up and they kill Multiple Man. And it's kind of cool, like, how this is all happening. I mean, I like the aesthetic of this trained assassin team coming in, but it's just kind of tiresome, the concept. And so back in Krakoa, the Quiet Council's having some meeting while this is happening, and they're talking about how Trials of Hercules and what have you, which is kind of interesting because Hercules actually does exist in the Marvel Universe. And talks about how, God, progressive comics. It talks about how Hercules actually didn't pass the trials on his own, that Athena, his half-sister, had to help him. And so he compares it about he had the muscle, but she had the mind. So it's like, dun-dun-dun, the power of woman. So, it's constantly got to be thrown in our face, just in case all of us misogynists forgot how powerful women are, So they show up and they're recreating what happened with multiple, of course, the original Multiple Man is still, these were all just duplicates, fortunately. Not that it matters because they could just resurrect anyway. Jean's recreating what happened and trying to figure out, what the assassins were after. And it's pretty obvious they're here to kill people. And it's just more talkity talk at the Quiet Council. And I found it rather boring. And I'm just kind of getting tired of, like, humanity is the threat. And the mutants are just good people or just want to be left alone, but they're constantly invading sovereign countries. They're abducting people. They're killing people. The mutants are the bad guys here. And it's no wonder. I think if this world existed, the United States and the other great powers of the world, like China and so forth, would just get together and annihilate all of mutants. And before, it used to be that there was, mutants were hunted by groups, small groups of humanity that were prejudiced and bigoted and afraid and let their hate get out. And they had to defend themselves and try to get along. And you kind of felt for them. But now it's almost like, no, you deserve it. Like, these other countries, you are a threat to their existence. And they have every right to protect their own existence. And you're kind of forcing their hand to be preemptive and annihilate you. And you're not right. So they're going to do some mission. And Forge is like, I invented this really cool gun. It's like plant-based. So, God, I hate the plant-based technology. And Domino's, they're all just talking about how they're eager to return the favor. And this gun is like a glove, but it shoots and it turns into a sword. And of course Wolverine's like, I don't need it. And kid pink hair guy, sorry, I forget his name, Quentin Quire, I hate this character. I so hate this character. So I don't need it either because I'm ultimate weapon. So, but of course Domino does, so she takes it and they're gonna go raid this facility. Meanwhile, Charles is where are they? They're at some, I don't remember. I'm kind of getting all confused without reading so many of these books. But this team, this is going to be the X-Force strike team, I guess, gets called and they need help. So we're on our way. What's waiting on the other side? The gate will take you to the center of the facility. And meanwhile, you can see more human assassin guys just showing up and gunning everyone down in this mutant embassy. That's in San Francisco, because of course it's in San Francisco. And they're just killing people and expect immediate engagement. Roger that. X-Force is a go. And look at this. God, Quentin Quire. Can someone just shoot him, please? He needs... It's gotta hate him. But Wolverine's kind of cool, and his claws snicked. And they're gonna go. And there's the gate, and the guys are shooting. And then look at this terrible panel. Look at this. Just soak it in. Soak this art in. Soak this in. I can draw better than this, and I haven't drawn in 20 years. Literally, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. This is awful. What the hell am I looking at? Marvel Comics. Which is weird because, like, this panel looks pretty good, and I don't know. So they go through the gate, and then ba-boom! And then, the hell? I'm still in Krakoa. Oh, shit! She sees that the gate was blown. She didn't actually go through. Quentin Quire and Wolverine went through ahead of time, and they got blowed up because the gate blew up. So halfway through, the gate's been closed, the security threat nullified. Time to empty the pockets of the so-called gods. So, earlier in this book, we saw a part that I kind of skipped by where I guess they're talking about an adamantium bath for Wolverine. So I guess the fans, I don't know if I can find it, it's the same thing that happened with Bendis and Superman. Like, fans were just like, this is kind of stupid. Like, if Wolverine resurrects, how does he get the adamantium? And so now it's almost like they're retconning it to be like, oh, look, we invented this adamantium bath so you can, like, get your... I don't know where it's at. I know I read it somewhere. You can get your adamantium back anytime. And it's just like, oh, nice little try to fix there. So now we can see Wolverine, obviously, because Wolverine's like, okay, I'll think about that later. Otherwise, we'd see a skeleton, but we don't. But it's kind of nice. I really like this, seeing Quentin Quire dead. I might just, like, make that my wallpaper like this. That's kind of cool. So yeah, that's X-Force. This is supposed to be the best book in the line. So that's going to do it. I'm going to cut this video in half because 6 is way too long. I thought I could blast through it, but I really couldn't. So I'm just going to do 3 at a time. This will be part 1. I'll record a part 2 video and release that one tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see how this goes. I appreciate all your views. I like talking about these books and sharing my opinions. I like hearing your feedback and what your opinions are if you're reading these. And yeah, see you next time.